Gay people are not asking for marriage equality so they can just have a big fat gay wedding, right? In that case, it should have just been wedding equality.
Now today, while our relationship is as true and as honest as any other so-called traditional relationship is, but we are deprived of some of these absolutely basic rights, right? And the legal acceptance of marriage is going to give us that.
On 12th March this year, the Indian government told the Supreme Court in an affidavit that the legalization of same-sex unions will create complete havoc in the personal laws of the country. The Supreme Court, however, decided that the issue is of seminal importance and created a constitution bench to consider it further. That hearing is scheduled for April 18th. We're quite close to that date, and so we decided to talk to the queer community and hear from them exactly what they want out of the hearing. 6 September 2018 was a landmark day for the LGBTQIA+ community in India. After decades of struggle, the Supreme Court pronounced that Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code would be struck down. And how did you react to the news of 377 being scrapped?
Most of the queer community from Bangalore, we all got together, we celebrated together. Just the whole air was a sigh of relief. Thank God I don't have to live my life as a criminal, just for being who I am.
I remember we went out for a dinner that night, celebrating a quiet celebration that we did.
There was drums, we unfurled the rainbow flag. I think it was just so nice to just see the joy on everybody's face, the thrill that, it is finally one step of this battle has come to an end.
Section 377, a remnant of colonial law, treated any Indian individual who identified as homosexual as a criminal.
As exhilarating and as jubilant a moment the scrapping of 377 was, it was a little too late and nearly not enough.
On 2nd June 2022, two people got married in Bengaluru city. It was a big fat Indian wedding with plenty of people to bless the couple, flowers, the fairas, the exchange of garlands, the whole shebang. Only Saugata and Mayank are still recognized in India as two single men.
We've been together for the last almost 11 years, and our relationship is based on love, trust, respect, commitment, loyalty, responsibility, care, and that's what all relationships are based out of, right?
Nikita Prakash and Shayantika Majumdar work for a well-known e-commerce company in the city and have been together for around 4 years now. They live together, work together, and consider each other family. Shayantika cannot wait for her big fat Indian wedding. And then the big fat Indian institution of marriage.
A marriage, especially in a country like India, comes with two massive umbrella privileges and rights. One is social and the other is legal.
If we need to invest in a property together, there are very few options of taking a joint loan.
To be able to pass on property, to be able to, give property to each other.
Buy medical insurance for each other.
Adoption, to be able to adopt children.
And arguably, the most important one of them all,
anywhere that you fill up a form at like any hospital, they ask you for a medical contact. The medical contact has to be next of kin.
And that is a very scary space, especially this medical intervention aspect, because for a lot of queer people, we don't have family acceptance. God forbid, but like let's say she's in a coma or something and she's not conscious enough to take a medical decision. Her family can, hypothetically, her family can come in and ask me to just get lost because I'm just a friend, right? I'm nobody else.
marriage is about rights and privileges, sure, but it's also about protection. Being married to a person protects you from things that could potentially go wrong in the relationship. And in a heteronormative society, such protection is taken for granted.
Without that protection of marriage rights, max we can do is report it as assault, and it won't get the same treatment as the domestic violence case for a straight person, and it will be treated differently. Why should it be treated differently? Why is it domestic violence for a straight couple and just assault for us?
It's not only about the positives, right? It's also then abuse can be reported, right, within relationships. It can be, there's a legal process that can be set into it.
Priyank Asha Sukhanand is a gay rights activist who has been closely working with members of the community. Amid spending time with Tara, his beagle, and his work as a special educator, he tells us about queer people from less advantaged backgrounds and the kind of struggles they are often subjected to.
People, when they come down to cities, are in search of hope to be able to stand on 2 feet and to be able to survive by themselves. And now this is a very scary part for any individual. I think someone who comes with some level of education is able to survive in the city with a job. Now on the other hand, if they don't, then it gets much more difficult, because some cases of abandonment don't just include just saying, okay, get out of the house and don't come back. It's initially that, then it's, I rather have you dead than to be outside and bringing shame onto my family.
Saugata and Mayank are a part of a huge family. They live with 3 parents, 2 pets and 2 babies. They acknowledge the fact that the very ability to build a family like this and live with acceptance from all of them is a privilege.
While the bigger cities have made a lot of change in the last few years, the smaller cities and towns need to now get a little more aware, little more accepting.
When the Supreme Court will allow us to get married, the same-sex couples, it will give that middle-class families the relief. Like, it is now allowed by the judiciary of India, so it is not bad or anything like that. It would definitely help them overcome their thinking.
Saugata and Mayank are fathers to 2 children, a son and a daughter, who were born via surrogate a couple of years ago.
So we decided to have baby or babies during the pandemic. The life is unpredictable, right? So a friend of us was also going through a process of surrogacy, so he also pushed us. And that's when we decided to have the surrogacy process, because it will take less time than the adoption and all. We were lucky to have the good news in a short amount of time.
Parenthood can pose a challenge for couples like Saugata and Mayank because they are not legally recognized as equal parents.
Inheritance is a problem. As I said, like getting insurance could be a problem, right, for our kids.
If anything happened to one of us, then this thing should be legalized so that we can have equal rights on both the babies.
Both of us will have to accompany both our kids at all points of time if are traveling abroad. But it can lead to some complications, particularly in some parts of the world. It can lead to some complications. So those are things, freedom to move freely as a family. All of these things are things which come with the legal sanctity. So while legally to one of our babies, one of us is the legal father, but so we are equal fathers.
It's just on the papers.
It's just on the papers, right?
Emotionally, it's like both are the fathers.
Absolutely.
One of them calls him a daddy and me a papa, so it's as normal as that.
India has been a battlefield for religious disunity through the decades since our independence. But on this one single matter, they posed a united front, claiming that allowing same-sex unions would dilute the institution of marriage itself.
There are so many people who struggle with practicing their religion and at the same time being told that in the context of their religion, them being homosexual is a sin. Do I choose to be a person who practices a particular religion? Do I choose to live my authentic self as part of my identity? I don't want to give up either. Can the two coexist, And the two should be able to coexist, because every religion is at its very core based on love. Why are religions choosing hate in the face of love?
Ultimately, it boils down to equality. It boils down to disabling discrimination on the basis of sexual identity.
We're just asking for what every other citizen of India gets, which I think is a valid ask.
As an adult citizen, my vote is as valid as the vote of any member of the voting community who is who identifies as a heterosexual individual. So if my vote is equal, why are my rights not equal?